My name is Darcy Ingram, and I'm 31 years old. I served 6 years in the United States Army. I've been through combat zones, freezing mountain outposts, and situations that would break most people. But nothing, not a single mission, not a single moment in uniform, prepared me for the night my own parents threw my 8-year-old daughter out into a storm because of a lie her cousin told. If you truly love and appreciate your parents, take just 1 second to subscribe to this channel. It means a lot to us. And before you go, tell me in the comments, which country are you watching from? Her name is Lily. She has my eyes and her father's stubborn chin. And she is the single reason I wake up every morning with something worth fighting for. After her father, Sergeant Joel Ingram, was killed in a training accident 4 years ago, it was just the two of us, just Lily and me. I did everything right. I left the military to be present for her. I worked double shifts as a logistics coordinator. I built us a small, stable life. And when my job relocated me temporarily for 3 months, I made the hardest decision of my life. I asked my parents, Raymond and Gloria Ingram, to look after Lily while I sorted the transition. They had always seemed like decent grandparents, Sunday dinners, birthday cards, the occasional fishing trip with Grandpa. I believed they were safe. I was wrong. It was a Thursday evening when everything collapsed. I was 2 states away in the middle of a 12-hour shift when my phone started ringing. I ignored the first call because I was in a meeting. I ignored the second because I thought it could wait. By the third call, something cold moved through my chest. That old military instinct, the one that tells you something is wrong before your brain catches up. I stepped out and answered. It was a police officer named Sergeant Briggs. His voice was calm and professional, which somehow made it worse. He told me that a child had been found walking alone on the highway shoulder in the rain. She was soaking wet, shaking, wearing only a thin sweater. She had no shoes. She had told the officer her name was Lily Ingram, and that her grandfather had told her to get out of his house. She was 8 years old. She had been walking in the dark for nearly 3 hours. I don't remember driving to the airport. I don't remember buying the ticket. My military training took over, the part of me that shuts down emotion and moves on objective. Get to the hospital, get to Lily. Everything else comes after. What I pieced together later was this. My niece, my brother Theo's daughter, a 12-year-old named Bree, had broken a ceramic figurine in my mother's living room. Rather than admit what she had done, Bree told my parents that Lily had broken it deliberately and then laughed about it. My mother believed her instantly. My father, Raymond, who had always been the louder one, the one who made decisions with his chest instead of his head, called Lily into the room and demanded she confess. Lily told him the truth. She said she hadn't done it. She said she didn't even touch it. She said, "Please, Grandpa, I'm telling the truth." And my father looked at his 8-year-old granddaughter, Joel's daughter, my daughter, a child who had already lost her father. And he said words I will never forgive him for as long as I live. He said, "Get out. I don't need a lying granddaughter in my house." It was raining. The temperature had dropped to 41 degrees. Lily walked out the front door because my father told her to, because she was 8 and he was an authority figure, and she didn't know she had any other choice. She walked down the driveway, turned onto the road, and kept walking. She later told me she was trying to find a phone. She said she wanted to call me. She said she knew I would come. She was right about that. I was already in the air. When I walked into that hospital room and saw her lying in that bed wrapped in a heated blanket and an IV in her small arm, her hair still faintly damp, something in me went completely still. Not the stillness of defeat, the stillness before a soldier moves. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and cold air. Lily was asleep when I first walked in, her tiny chest rising and falling under that pale blue blanket, her lips still slightly chapped from the cold and wind she had walked through alone for 3 hours. I pulled the chair as close to her bed as it could go, and I sat there without moving. A nurse came in quietly, checked her vitals, gave me a small nod that said she was stable, that she would be fine physically. I thanked her. Then I went back to watching my daughter breathe, and I let myself feel, just for those few quiet minutes, everything I had been holding back since Sergeant Briggs first called my name on that phone. I felt fear, real fear. Not the battlefield kind where your training carries you forward automatically. This was deeper. This was the fear of what could have happened to an 8-year-old girl on a dark highway in 40-degree rain if a truck driver named Walt hadn't spotted her reflective sneaker stripe from his cab and pulled over and called 911 before continuing. Walt, I don't know his last name. I will never be able to thank him properly. He saved my daughter's life with a phone call he didn't have to make. I was still sitting there, holding Lily's hand when the door opened behind me. I knew before I turned around that particular rhythm of footsteps, heavy on the left heel from an old knee injury, the slight pause before entering any room. I had known that walk my entire life. My father, Raymond Ingram, 63 years old, a retired factory supervisor, who had spent 40 years believing that volume was the same thing as authority. He walked in and stopped. And when he saw me sitting beside that bed, his face changed in a way I had never seen before. His hands started shaking, not trembling slightly, shaking, both of them hanging at his sides like something had been cut loose inside him. He said, voice barely above a whisper, You can't be, how did you get here? I stood up slowly. I didn't raise my voice. 6 years in the military teaches you that real power doesn't need volume. I looked at him the way I used to look at a situation report, clearly, completely, without flinching from any part of it. I said, she walked 3 hours in the rain, Dad, in the dark, on a highway. She's 8 years old, and she lost her father, and the only thing she did wrong tonight was tell you the truth. He opened his mouth. I kept going. I told him I had already spoken to the hospital social worker. I told him I had already given my statement to Sergeant Briggs. I told him that my mother, who had arrived 20 minutes before him and was sitting in the hallway, too ashamed to come inside, had confirmed to the officer that she had watched Lily leave and had not stopped her. I told him that Bree had already admitted, when pressed by her own father, Theo, that she had lied, that she had broken the figurine, and blamed a child who couldn't defend herself against adults who had already decided to believe the wrong person. My father sat down in the chair against the wall. He put his face in his hands. He looked, for the first time in my memory, genuinely small. Not humbled the way people are when they're performing regret. Small the way people are when they finally see the full weight of what they have done, and there is no argument left to make. He said he was sorry. He said it more than once. I told him that sorry was a starting point, not a destination. I told him that Lily would decide, when she was ready, whether she wanted a relationship with her grandparents, that it was her choice to make, not mine, and certainly not his. I told him that if he ever, in any circumstance, made my daughter feel like she had to earn the right to be believed in her own family again, that would be the last conversation we ever had. He nodded. He didn't argue. He didn't defend himself. That, more than anything, told me he finally understood. Lily was discharged the following morning. She ate a full breakfast in the hospital cafeteria and told me in great detail about the truck driver, Walt, and how his cab had smelled like coffee and cinnamon, and how he had given her his jacket while they waited for the ambulance. She told it like an adventure. Kids do that sometimes. They carry the hard things in ways that break your heart with their resilience. On the drive home, she asked me if she was in trouble. I told her she had never been in trouble. I told her she had done everything right. I told her that when someone in authority says something wrong, it doesn't become true just because they said it loudly. I told her that knowing the difference between those two things, between power and truth, was one of the most important things a person could ever learn. She looked out the window for a while. Then she said, "Is that something they taught you in the army?" I said, "That's something you just taught me, actually." She seemed to think about that seriously. Then she nodded, satisfied, and went back to watching the trees go by. My parents and I have spoken several times since that night. It is slow, cautious work. My mother cried on the phone for 40 minutes during our first real conversation, and I let her, because grief is sometimes the first honest thing a person offers you. My father has been quieter than I have ever known him to be. Whether that quietness becomes something useful, whether it becomes genuine change, or just the silence of a man waiting for things to return to normal, only time will tell. I am watching carefully. I am always watching carefully now. Lily started seeing a child counselor named Dr. Renee, who she describes as pretty cool for someone who asks a lot of questions. She is doing well. She still sleeps with the nightlight on, which she didn't do before that night, and I don't say a word about it. She can sleep with every light in the house blazing for the rest of her life if that's what she needs. I think about Walt the truck driver more than I probably should. I think about how one person making one decent decision in one ordinary moment can be the entire difference. It doesn't take a uniform. It doesn't take training. It just takes someone willing to stop when stopping isn't required. I stopped waiting for my family to be what I needed them to be. I started building around Lily and myself the kind of safety that doesn't depend on anyone's permission or approval. We have good neighbors. We have her school counselor. We have each other. We have Walt somewhere out there on a highway, drinking coffee that smells like cinnamon, probably not thinking about us at all. And that's okay. He already did his part. Some nights I sit on the edge of Lily's bed after she falls asleep and I just watch her face go completely peaceful. No worry in it, no weight, just a kid resting. That is what I fought for. That right there, That is every deployment, every early morning, every hard mile, every moment I chose to stay standing.